hello and welcome to Strategic Thinking, a podcast series produced by Gray and Gray, featuring CEOs, founders, and other senior business leaders discussing what's happening in their industry and how they are strategically guiding their companies for growth. I'm Bryan Pearce, Director of Strategic Business Planning for Gray and Gray, and your host for this series. And my guest today is David Modell, Chief Operating Officer of Triton Systems in Chelmsford, Mass. David has over 40 years of business experience in biotech, biomedical, aerospace, and other high technology fields, and he has served Triton and its affiliates in an executive role from startup through self-sufficiency, including COO and CFO of two of Triton's public company affiliates, and CEO, CFO, and COO of 7 privately financed affiliates. And in these roles, he has led many rounds of private and public equity financing, set up joint ventures, acquired and sold businesses, and in or out licensed numerous technologies. David holds a Master of Business Administration from Wharton and a Bachelor of Arts from Yale. And as you look at Triton Systems, they are relentlessly focused on what's next, the next invention, the next breakthrough, the next innovation that can unleash new possibilities in engineering, science, and technology to impact our lives. And that often happens whether it's a commercial client or a government client. And in so doing, they have created more than $4 billion in shareholder value in the last 15 years alone. So, David, great having you with us. Thanks very much for joining me today. And I'm certainly looking forward to our conversation. So I thought, David, we would start off, as I look at Triton Systems, you have been a leader in innovation with impact since the company was founded back in 1992, nearly 30 years ago now. And one of the things that I was curious about is how have you been able to create and sustain this culture of innovation in the company over that length of time? And how do the 3 pillars that you talk about at Triton, inspiration, innovation, and investment, all fit together to build that culture?
Great question. And first of all, let me thank you, Bryan, for that very generous introduction. And thank you for the time to tell people about the Triton story. So Triton is primarily and historically a U.S. Federal government contractor. And our customers are departments such as defense, energy, homeland security, and health. And people don't always realize, but those branches of the government are doing really interesting work and are leaders really in the world in terms of soliciting cutting edge research from their supplier base. And their supplier base can be the traditional suppliers like the big defense contractors, but also leading universities all over the country get tremendous grant funding from the government, and companies like ours respond to requests for proposals and propose innovations. So there's a huge need of things that the country needs. These branches of the government are working hard to try to fill that need. And one thing that they do, which is kind of different than the public sector is, or the commercial sector, is there's much more freedom to present new ideas. They're really open to brand new ideas. They're not as constrained by quote unquote marketability in the beginning. They want to solve the problem. So what we do is we respond to those interests and we propose things, and we are pretty free range as well with creativity, and we really encourage that. So the second piece, of course, is who's going to respond, and we seek to hire the best engineers, scientists, and business leaders we can find. We try to train them in how we want them to be able to present and how they can articulate their ideas. And we give them lots of opportunity to kind of let their creativity run free. And we develop partnerships with many leading institutions from academia and other subject matter experts to round out our, complete offering. And the last of which is we have very good physical facilities where people can do interesting creative work at a lab scale before they kind of roll out their ideas in actual products. If all of that is successful, we're also very innovative with respect to different business models to take it to market. We, as you mentioned, we've done public, we've done private, in-license, out-license, joint ventures. If we need independent investment, we create a separate company for that. But we also build things inside. And as I said, we also have creativity on the business side. So we try in all those aspects to just embed that innovation from the very beginning.
Yeah, that's so interesting, and we often forget the importance that that government does play in driving, new products, innovation, and certainly even new business models, I suppose, for companies like yours that are partnering with academia and with the government. It really is an important engine of innovation, by the sounds of it.
Yep.
So it's hard for me to think of three more important markets than the ones that you're in the current environment with defense and homeland security. And we know, many of the challenges that we continue to face there, certainly the energy and environment and, the climate and all of the things that go along with that. And of course, medical and human health. So I wonder, if you could talk a little bit about the history of Triton, how you ended up choosing those and continue to be in those today. And in particular, how has the diversification between these three major areas enabled the very successful growth strategy for Triton?
Yes, another good question. So if we go back 30 years ago, as you mentioned, we started as a bunch of material scientists. There's a rich tradition of material science, particularly polymer science, in the sort of Metro West area or northeastern Massachusetts,
Mm-hmm.
really going back historically to the mills that powered the textile industry in the Lowell area, 2 centuries ago. From that came fiber knowledge and eventually became plastics knowledge. So it's a very interesting sort of historical reference. But we were a bunch of material scientists, and materials is an extremely broad category. Again, something people may not think about, but everything's made of materials. When we started in the 90s, we were in the middle of a really innovative, one of the great innovative periods in material science, where polymers were, the use and the methods of producing polymers was exploding. The electronically active materials, polymers and others, was kind of growing up alongside the microelectronics industry. And hybrid combinations of metals, composites, and ceramics was a thing that we explored. So there was just a lot of innovation happening at the time we started business, and we focused on those material problems that the government had. But innovation in materials is really way down the value chain. And so it's necessary to do that. And we feel it's, as I said, it's a really key piece to what we do, but it's not sufficient to create products. Our customers were not and are not specifically interested in a pure improvement in a material property. They may like that, but they want the product. They want a system level solution.
Mm-hmm.
As we grew up and we needed to develop system level expertise, which includes hiring designers, engineers, product specialists, a whole variety of skill sets that would take those material innovations and fold them into products. While we were doing that, so that's sort of after the first few years, that's really what started our growth path. As that was happening, the commingling of previously disparate disciplines continued to accelerate. So for example, I'll give you a recent example. We have a very large program with the university to create organ on a chip. We're creating a synthetic ear for a hearing.
Interesting.
With hearing devices. Now, organ on a chip combines synthetic materials, biologic materials. We need microfluidics, we need electrical engineering, we need chemistry, and it's all on one little chip. So all of these disciplines get drawn together. So as we look back, I'd say both the science and our customers have pulled us into diversification. And as I mentioned in the first question, our willingness to constantly innovate just led us that way. Just that's how we kind of, to really be agnostic as to where you get the innovation and what disciplines you pursue in creating solutions.
And that diversification also, it sounds like, really moved you towards greater value add, moving from the
Yes.
materials into finished products and so on.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. Excellent. So within the three markets, you have a number of focus areas, as you call them at Triton, things like artificial intelligence and machine learning and robotics. And just recently, on October 11th, Reuters reported that Nicholas Chilan, the Pentagon's first chief software officer, resigned in protest against the slow pace of technological transformation in the US military, which obviously you're very familiar with, and actually said that China has won the AI battle with the United States and is heading towards global dominance because of its technological advances. And I just wonder, how you react to such a statement. Where do you think the US really is in all of this research and technological advancement, and what do we need to do differently as a country, perhaps, to make sure that we stay ahead in the race?
Yeah, I'm really glad you asked that question. So I first of all, I would agree that artificial intelligence is changing everything from how your home operates to where drones will fly in future conflicts. So AI has become a cornerstone of a lot of our system solutions and everybody else's. The US military is as aware of this as any other technologically sophisticated organization. And there's lots of smart people, both inside the military and within its supplier network, who are working hard on the solutions. But the military does suffer from certain structural impediments, which make it a less nimble organization than, say, Amazon or Apple. The first thing is that the DoD manages a huge number of legacy systems, from fighter jets to dining halls, mess halls. I mean, amount of assets that they have to manage is astonishing. And every single system is serviced by thousands of techs and other support people. And every purchase is dominated by thousands of pages of procurement specifications, maintenance specifications, decommissioning specifications. So that it takes a long time to turn a super tanker, and every single system has that. So when they think about adding AI, they have to then think about how they're going to integrate it, and they get caught up in some of that, of their own sort of bureaucratic, I guess is the word, requirements, which are necessary to function in the day-to-day function. So that's one sort of base impediment. The second impediment is that the whole process of the government soliciting proposals for a problem, the bidding, the negotiating, and the execution on these, which is something we do every single day, is just slower than the private sector. The DoD recognizes this problem. Every few years, they try to make a big pitch to streamline, but they never quite get there. And they just have this bureaucratic process. So that slows them down as well. So they have two things, I guess, the two things I mentioned, make them slower than maybe the private sector and possibly slower than other governments. But that being said, when it comes to cutting edge innovations like AI, the government certainly has the resources to commit a huge amount of funding to solve the problem. Now, some of these programs are classified. So